bans are up. The Gragas is taken off the board by ROCCAT. Azir banned very quickly against Nukeduck. He has had some success on that this split. These are going quick though. Varus also banned away the Fizz too.
This is something ROCCAT usually likes doing. It's called pincering jungles and first picking Lee Sin, because the one shining element for elements on that side usually is Dexter on the early game junglers and just trying to snowball some of these lanes. ROCCAT say, okay, we usually want to Lee Sin, but we're fine with Ryze. And yeah, finally we see some poke getting challenged. So Varus is out. Jayce. He's still open, so no early pickup. Elements may feel that they get baited. I like the Nautilus for hard engaging to poke with the ultimate, whether it's top or support, and I like the Sivir. I think it's, if Sivir's open, you should first pick her, and I think ROCCAT maybe even made the mistake of prioritizing Ryze over Sivir here. Yeah,
a lot of target bans meant some of these guys have slipped through the cracks. We are going to see a quick pickup of Ekko. We'll see if that does go to Nukeduck, since he has 2 bans focused on him. This time around, Jankos said they had banned Rek'Sai on their own side for ROCCAT, so they're still letting the time tick down to see what they want to take for their next second rotation.
And Dexter so far has played Gragas a couple of games, 5, Rek'Sai 4, Sejuani twice, and Ekko 1, so you have to reach deep, find a new jungler, unless he resorts back to that Sejuani jungler, so he might actually pick up his Lee Sin again. And when under pressure, he's shown that he could definitely do good things with it. ROCCAT taking a different approach, very early game skirmish with the Graves and the Ekko and scaling component in the Ryze. Not quite sure about Graves into Sivir. I feel like with good reactions, which Tabzz usually should have, should be enough to spell shoot that. And Dexter taking a page out of Clearlaw's book. Evelyn.
Absolutely. With Graves taken with the Corki still left available too. That is a little bit interesting. So the Evelyn locked in. How this fits into Element's comp, we'll have to see if we are going to indeed get a top lane Nautilus finally here in Europe. As the timer still ticks down for ROCCAT side though.
Must ye.
Still up.
Still open.
It is.
So let's see how this plays out for ROCCAT here, because they banned out 2 junglers and a Fizz to get rid of Jwaow, so they want to make sure that Steve can survive on that Ryze at the top lane. They gave up Sivir. They're playing a completely different style. They're not going late game at all. They're going for early aggression, snowball, which you need to do if you lock in that Victor later. The Annie Graves lane, back to Spring, back to aggression, back to AoE wombo combo at level 6. And Thresh Sivir will have a reasonably hard time dealing with that, usually because if you have one component in a bot lane that pops the spell shield, you're okay if you're a Sivir. But you have 2 components, which is an Annie with an instant W stun, possible Q, then a buckshot. There's too much of spell shield and you can still get punished because the return damage just isn't that high. So we'll have to definitely keep our eyes on Dexter if he can counter gank that aggression. And ROCCAT, the one poke component left is the Jayce.
They add that one in. See what elements to answer with. Will Froggen, will his legendary solo Q Master Yi get to come out finally, or will he go for something a little bit different? As we saw a minute ago, the Victor was still up and available. Froggen's played a number of these mids.
As long as it's not another Vladimir. Oh yeah, and we haven't noted it just yet because it's so common to see that Nautilus in support, but obviously since the Thresh is here, this is going to be a top lane Nautilus for the first time, and I feel like it could actually, or expected rather, to do well into the Ryze later, especially combined with ganks, because so much offensive CC. And Nautilus top lane is in a sense comparable to Maokai, that he relies a lot on his base damages, builds tanky, a lot of HP on his side for that shield, and then just wants to snowball that, and just has a lot of crowd control, and he's just a CC bot kinda.
So this is really interesting, that the Twisted Fate pickup, this gives an extra element, 2 elements, of global pressure, not just for his ult, but obviously the Evelyn if you don't know where she is. I mean, there's so much that ROCCAT are going to be uncertain about. If elements don't get quashed quickly, this could be a rough game for ROCCAT.
I like the TF pickup because Jayce usually sits back a little bit in the mid lane, but you have very, very big aggression coming out from the ROCCAT bot lane, and on top of that, you can really just teleport top lane. What is a Ryze gonna do if it's even lanes and you show up and you just gold card him? That's enough time for Jwaow to connect, you know, the ultimate from his Nautilus, follow up with the Thresh line, and then the Ryze is gone. He's just obliterated. So this could be a good opening. Just want to see if Froggen can get to the level 6 safely. And then yeah, elements. I like what they ended up drafting here, honestly, and then ROCCAT, a completely different approach with the more early aggression. They do have scaling component, and this might be double tier though.
It might very well be.
So mismatch, you know, double tier in mid and top lane, whereas their bot lane is hyper aggressive. So that they want to use the Annie Graves to buy some time, get those carries rolling. But yeah, will elements shut the door? Usually they don't in the early to mid game.
Well, we'll have to see this time around. Why don't you guys at home tell us what you think? Is ROCCAT going to ride that into the late and take a victory here, or will Elements manage to grab one on the board, keep themselves competitive for the playoffs as we get ready to go into game number 2? ROCCAT versus Elements on the birthday of the top laner, Steve. Let's see who comes out victorious as we're on to the Rift.
We might see a lot of blood because a lot of squishies on these teams. Steve, on his birthday, as you just said, relatively squishy early game. Annie gets blown up immediately. Nukeduck, if he gets caught, he has cleanse, but very squishy. Look at the junglers. Evelyn, usually squishy in the early game, goes very low in that first clear. So let's see. I'm very interested to see how this game will play out and what the strategic choices will be for these teams.
Yeah, I want to see where ROCCAT decide to focus their attention early, because they do have a lot of powerful scaling up. The bot lane should be able to take care of itself. Elements are stacking heavy on this top side. Jwaow revealing himself obviously as the top laner is not going to give too much information away, but if he clears Steve away, might be able to go in early, get those wards down for vision.
Elements want to swap for multiple reasons. Graves, Annie should beat Sivir Thresh quite handily. Ryze is inferior in a lane swap to almost any matchup because he wants to just get that tier scaling and going. So, and then Nautilus has a lot of basic utility. So squad from Jat, you know, the best thing about having Nautilus in the top lane is having Nautilus on your team. Even in a lane swap, he still offers that basic CC, what you need to shut down these like max range scaling compositions in terms of poke. And then you dodge the aggressive component of ROCCAT. So Elements should be looking for a lane swap here. The map has been divided in 2 parts. So we should be able to see that come out. And obviously the Riptide from Nautilus is just so good for double jungling because even level 1, it starts at the 6.7 seconds cooldown, so 7 base, because people are running 5% CDR. That's quick. And as you level that up, it goes down to 4 or 5 seconds cooldown. You can use that a lot, and use that base damage of that to add up over time while you build very tanky. Nautilus scales well with HP on his shield.
And though it does look like ROCCAT has definitely had the better of these games earlier on, or rather in this split so far. You go back to week 4, that last time these two met, that was actually a win for Elements. So if they win this here, they're 2-0 against ROCCAT, who are actually being zoned away from this Gromp. MrRallez and Vander show up, and Tabzz and Nyph realize that they might have been had here. They have to take the 2v2. They have to do it now.
So Elements with an incredibly greedy start. In addition to starting with their bot lane at the weak side of ROCCAT, invading very deep alone, they send their jungler and top laner to start at their weak side. So they start in 2 offensive quadrants, which is very risky. I would have liked Elements just start 4-man in that bottom left quadrant of the jungle. They're facilitating that XP, and then even if you get the 2v2, you at least guarantee that your bot lane can take their Gromp. Elements very greedy and they get punished for it. This puts their bot lane behind in the matchup. Also behind in terms of damage because they just got chunked out. They were late to lane. They lose the lane from position. They lose the lane purely on matchup. So Dexter, he needs like a Hail Mary gank right now.
Yeah, he's going in very, very early level 2. See if he can find some damage onto MrRallez. Staying just out of range of the vision. Tabzz, Nyph, they're going to get the Ignite off onto Vander, but Tabzz might melt before this is all over. Dexter turns his attention to the aim. There's first blood. They will be able to take it. Maybe not a Hail Mary, but a couple of points for Elements to start this game off.
And this is crucial. Dexter shows up with the level 2 cheese red buff straight gank. Because he had to. Elements, Nyph, and Tabzz were getting zoned right there, and we saw the aggression from Vander. That works in every case except when a jungler just shows up. Dexter finally using that offensive power of Evelyn and her invisibility to his advantage. This could be enough to snowball, buy enough time in that top lane.
We'll have to see. Very, very early on into this one. The bottom laners, or the top laners in the bottom lane, I should say, they're getting off to a rolling start, but it's Steve who's getting himself the advantage. Look at that CS difference. Yeah,
he's a 40 CS or 15 CS to 6, and now Nautilus has to CS under tower, and this is a problem that Elements has very often. Now Nautilus has an auto attack reset on his W, so chooses to use it. Ooh, sloppy CSing by Jwaow. Tabzz shows up, takes a little bit of CS. So that's the problem Elements have very often, is that both their side lanes need Dexter to gank. Top lane plays a poor matchup. It's like Dexter, yeah, we need help to stay even. Jwaow plays a range disadvantage matchup in the Ryze against Nautilus early. Yes, once he gets that level 6 and he can lock down the Ryze with the help of the jungler, he can kill him, but straight up 1v1, it's going to get rough. So everybody needs Dexter, but Dexter wants to farm too, so this is a bit of a catch-22.
But on the other hand, being on Evelyn means that, you can never really push up too far and be guaranteed to be safe. So that definitely helps unless some deep vision can go in the camps. We know that, a lot of the adaptations against the Evelyns we'd seen earlier this year have been as easy as ward the enemy jungle.
Yep.
But it hasn't happened yet for ROCCAT.
Works against any jungle, but so much more so against Evelyn. Here we see Froggen with the level 5 roam. So they want to open something up. Tabzz is on the bottom. He pushed it out. Nyph went missing, but that pink ward should ruin the plans and the dreams here for ROCCAT. Or for Elements, rather. Yeah, but Nyph's going to walk in there soon.
Oh, there he is. Revealed.
Oh, and that wastes Dexter's time in turn. Unless Nyph actually backs out and makes Steve feel safe with Dexter. Wasting some time in that brush. Tabzz can't farm. He's 22 to 33 CS, so that gank that Dexter did to make that lane even in the top lane, that advantage is gone now because they're using resources from that weaker bot lane, moving that to the top lane. Now Tabzz is getting denied. Let's see if he can catch up somewhat in CS here under the tower.
ROCCAT have really been able to keep Elements' attempts to swap away to advantageous lanes to really a bare minimum. They've really been able to react incredibly quickly, and this is definitely helping them out in the early game. They may be down a little bit of gold from that first blood, but apart from that, very, very close. See,
ROCCAT made a good read in the early game that Elements was going to swap, but Elements could have countered that read by just simply 4-man starting that Gromp and Blue buff together. I can't stress this enough. That was a big mistake, a very greedy start from them, and you don't have to do that. Lane swaps are so easy to play out if you just put 4 people together in the enemy's jungler, because then you share the camps, you get the camp on your bot lane, they can move in anyways, and even if they're late to lane, they'll still even on XP and they just get pushed in. Then they're fine, and then your top lane and jungler can hand over the experience. Top lane goes to bottom, that's fine. Jungler goes back into a full jungle in his backside, which is safe to take because it's at your side. Elements could have done all those things. They got greedy.
And they got punished for it. So, ROCCAT will be able to have the advantage in that bottom duo lane for quite a while now, unless some help comes in the form of Dexter, who's definitely been a little bit more topside even when the duo lane was there. Jankos, on the other hand, he goes in, throws the ward down, spotted immediately by Froggen. Has hit level 6 now. He has the Destiny available. Apply some of that more globalized pressure. Let's see where they decide to use it, if at all.
Yeah, we're not going to kill Nukeduck in the mid lane unless Nyph roams and then Dexter flanks from the other side because he has that cleanse. So in return, what are you going to do? You need Froggen to TP somewhere. Jwaow is still looking for that level 6. Once he gets that, then maybe they can combine Destiny upwards. Nukeduck's doing his best thing of playing as aggressive as he can. We might see a play here. Destiny's available. Dexter sneaking in.
Looking for Steve. There it goes. They're going to turn their attention onto him. Froggen comes around the back. They will take him down. 3-man stack. While ROCCAT was trying to do same thing on bottom.
Now Nukeduck, he was pushing that mid lane already, so he got some damage on that mid lane tower. You always want to cross map. Usually what mid laners do against the TF, if he goes top, you push in mid, damage the tower, and then move bottom, and either steal the blue buff, for example, or dive the bot lane. So Tabzz right now, he's on panic clear duty. He wants to make sure that wave never enters his tower. Doesn't want to get dove. Jwaow, good aggressive flash there, and Steve honestly played up too far forward. Should have been aware of that level 6 timing, because it's pretty obvious, Jwaow, on the CC bot like Nautilus with the Destiny out, you really want to call whenever Froggen moves or disappears even a little bit from mid lane, just back off, back off, back off. Too late, and good opening by Elements.
Yep. 2 kills to 0. They have built themselves up a little bit of a goldie despite losing fairly handily in that bottom side. They're still staying relevant. And the other thing about this Sivir, you don't have to get ahead on it. As long as you can be relevant enough to press R when you're all grouped up, you can still get that utility.
Yeah, Sivir is fine playing with a mild CS deficit. However, the Ryze getting free farm, yes, he died, but he's not going to die again. Usually in the top lane of your, back in the day, whenever somebody died, it was very heavy 1v1 matchups. So if you die once, you keep dying. I don't think Steve's going to have this problem, so we'll need to see repeat ganks from Elements to keep him down, because he's stacking his tier right now. Just going to take a look at my screen. He's at, well, not that much, 46. But right, so
still be a little while.
Still a while for Steve to stack that up.
Still, we always know ROCCAT, they like to go for these later game things. Elements has historically been that way as well, but they've kicked it up a little bit early on. Jankos now coming to help up on the top side. Dexter coming in tow, so both junglers looking to make this a party in the top lane for Steve's birthday.
Yeah, and usually these 2v2s, I feel Elements might get the shorter end of the stick right here. Jankos finally doing what he needs to do. You identify the prime target for your opponents to gank. That's obviously, Dexter's not going to gank a Sivir lane, he's not going to gank the TF lane because Jayce has cleansed, so he's obviously going to focus himself around Steve, the hyper-scaling, major late game. So what you do is you counter gank. This might work out very well for ROCCAT.
Sends in the depth charge, in comes the Evelyn. Agony's embrace, Jankos is too late to the party, however, might be able to finish off Dexter with a bat, but not quite enough. Chased away by Jwaow.
And this honestly is poor communication coming out of ROCCAT, and I feel Steve should have flashed. Once you see that Nautilus ulti come out, what you need to do is make it so the play is super telegraphed. You flash out, this buys you another second. That's another second for parallel conversions to be put down on the floor. Jankos to dive in, and you turn that around with massive AoE damage. Steve did 0 damage there. That could have been enough for a sweet double kill here for Jankos, but miscommunication.
And playing a little overconfidently there, trusting way too much and being able to time it up. Steve
died twice with flash still up. That should probably not happen.
I mean, a lot of people talk about how Steve tends to die very early. That was his 9th death in, what, pre-10 minutes or so? Like, that is getting a little bit ridiculous. I just had Spellsy letting us know that pretty much the most out of any top laner in the LCS.
Yeah, by quite a margin even. Definitely adds another first blood to that list right here. He was leading the first bloods. The second place was 2 first bloods down. So Steve, yeah, feed. However, he's been resilient. His late game has been better.
Yeah, and he's on Ryze too, so he definitely has a lot of ability to continue to roll forward.
Now when Vander hits 6, this very passive farm bot lane for Elements gets turned upside down because the Tabzz is enough to close the gap, and then collateral damage from Graves with the buckshot can just AoE, just evaporate the Thresh mostly. So when you play this matchup, you want to defend your AD carry, but take one wrong step, Nyph, and you're donezo, you're gone. And that's why ROCCAT is now moving their jungle to the bot lane. They gave up on Project Steve. Jankos wants to farm some and get an opening.
Dragon, looks like it's going to be procced here by Elements, so they will be able to secure this unless, of course, ROCCAT do make a move to defend. They have 3 members in the bottom side, but they're not going for it. Jankos seems to be a little bit uncertain.
He's late. He's late to the party. He was late to the party in the top lane. He's late to the Dragon party now. Jankos is sitting on a 0-0-0 right now. Not quite usual. We used to call him the First Blood King. Then he fell off. Then he started doing well again in the games. Very good early game presence, activity. But right now, he's not showing that usual Jankos self.
It's been Dexter who's had all this pressure. And yes, we said at the beginning that he wasn't necessarily where he needed to be because everyone needed him everywhere, but Elements have accepted the fact that their bot lane's going to be a little behind. Jwaow has been helped out quite a lot, and this has been Dexter getting some early gold. He's picked up both the kills starting off, and the Evelyn is definitely a threat that ROCCAT have to recognize.
And now you see the difference in that matchup in the mid lane here. Pressure from Nukeduck. He got the tower down low first. Pressure's Froggen out, and Froggen now has to find an opening with his ultimate later. We see people roam around, set up for a potential bot lane dive, but looking at the top laners, both have teleport right now, and this is the difference in this matchup. The farther you get into the game, the more, opposite it becomes. Steve is very squishy with high damage. I'll finish the story later.
Looks like we're going to see the Destiny Gate coming in. Jankos immediately preemptively flashing in. With the Ghost on, they catch him. Boomerang! Dexter is able to take him down as Jwaow looks around the side for more. Dexter lanterns his way back to safety. Maybe not. As in came Steve for the shutdown. Gold back in his pocket. Jwaow being chased out by Nukeduck, and MrRallez now sends out the Riptide. Won't be enough as Nukeduck takes him to the skies and takes him back to Fountain. A 3-for-1 for ROCCAT.
Elements take 1, but they get lured into a trap. They don't kill Nukeduck at all. He still has his cleanse, and he deals so much damage. And Steve, he was down 0-2, but he got the shutdown on Dexter. So everything that was playing in Elements' favor now is gone, evaporated. Let's watch that again right now. Dexter finds Jankos, or Jankos finds Dexter. Whatever you want. He engages, obviously, because he has Nukeduck in his back. And the damage misses. Ooh. I think this is actually bad, because if the damage hit, maybe Elements played a little more careful. As a stun.
They stacked up too.
Stacked up, double Tabzz in the parallel conversions. I feel like the hook that Nyph did dragged. I would almost dragged Jankos' Ekko back into his own parallel conversions before he died. Nyph 2-man stunned his own team with that hook, understandably so. And then the Tabzz came in, and that was wombo combo. That was enough. And just touching on that top lane again, Nautilus gets very tanky with repetitive repetitive base damage stats, whereas Steve is very squishy with very high damage stats. So it's a kind of opposite way, and then as long as Steve gets the upper hand, he can start to nuke down the Jwaow, especially if he has his jungler to help him.
Yep, Jwaow will have to back off, play safe under the tower with a whole horde of minions there. Steve is going to keep throwing out a couple of Qs here and there.
Shield used.
There you go, Parallel Convergence is on. In comes Jankos. He's going to get stunned up. Rune prisoned as well, so he can't get out of it. 2-man tower dive successful. Steve tanking the tower, but he gets another 2-and-2 now on the Ryze.
Yeah, wherever he gets ahead in this matchup will start snowballing. The problem is if Jwaow gets ahead, he has a hard time killing Steve on his own, but if Steve gets ahead, can dish out the repetitive damage and whittle down Jwaow, eventually with the help of ROCCAT, of Jankos rather. It's that kill. Down in the bot lane, 20 CS differential, Nyph, who goes wide. They're losing a tower in the top lane, they're trying to get one return in the bot lane. Aggression from Elements.
Stunned on a Tabzz, Dexter came in, however, couldn't take the 2v3. The Jayce sends a shock blast, dodged out by Dexter. A lot of pressure, a lot of attention being paid to this bottom side, but you have to respect it as Elements. There is some serious wombo combo damage, especially between MrRallez and Vander. We saw it in that previous fight with the big bear into collateral damage combo.
Yeah, so much damage on the side of ROCCAT, and Elements honestly pretty squishy. Froggen has 1.4k HP. Dexter sitting on somewhat of the same because he went for that warrior enchantment. So yes, if Elements can make the picks with this composition, they have a lot of damage to just lock down one target, immediately blow it up. But if they get caught in the wrong side of town, bad team fight, just one Tabzz is enough to get just blown up immediately.
Yeah.
Just mid-range. Look at the build from Froggen. Early boots upgraded. You know, he has the Sheen, Codex, Forbidden Idol on top of that. So all he has is, you know, offensive slash mana regen slash movement speed slash damage stats, but there's no defensive at all. So he needs to make his ulti count, and if he goes in a little bit too deep with the Destiny, he just gets blown up immediately.
It's definitely a touch and go game for these Elements. They have to respect that counter engage. If they cannot get the pick, it won't work out in their favor. As it stands, 1 tower to 2 in favor of ROCCAT. But Elements have that first dragon, another spawning in just over a minute. Both teams gonna vie for that control in and around the pit. Still taking their time on it. Froggen eats a shock blast from Nukeduck though. Playing very forward, not worrying now the tower's gone.
Yeah, Nukeduck's cleanse remains to be popped, so he can play aggressive because he knows he's never even been in a situation where Elements try to like shut him down, aggressive on him. And he has a lot of damage. With the right assistance of like an Annie roam or Ekko showing up, he can immediately turn that gank upside down and come out on top. So Elements, a little scared, playing on the back foot. And ROCCAT, this is manifesting, this passive Elements behavior right now is manifesting in a tower for ROCCAT. And most importantly, some deep vision on the red side of things, facilitating Steve's scaling. If you look at his tier again, he's now sitting at 400, 750.
Two very potent damage threats of different kinds. Steve with the magic damage, Nukeduck with the AD. And of course, they still have to respect RALLZ, who's, in all honesty, having a fantastic game by the standards that he had in the previous, since he came in replacing Woolite. He's been all right. He's done what they've needed in a lot of these games, but he's never been really the highlight standout. And right now, sitting on the Infinity Edge, basic boots, working his way towards even more. Looks like some armor pen there. He's definitely making Elements fear him, and that's only the mid-game threat.
And RALLZ, in terms of AD carries, he's praised for his positioning, most of it, but also in terms of what he gets from ROCCAT in terms of gold share, it's relatively low. But what he does with that, he deals a lot of damage per gold spent, and that's a stat we're tracking as well. Is damage matters, but it also matters how much you do with how many resources, and RALLZ in that regard does very well, because damage per gold spent, he's the highest in the European LCS right now, so he definitely makes every penny count. And that allows for ROCCAT to open up that gold to different carries, because he doesn't need as much to do damage. So they give it to Nukeduck, they give it to Steve later on. This makes for a very versatile ROCCAT if they can get rolling, but they just still need to speed up that early to mid game.
Yeah.
Still so slow.
Still very strong. Part of this is the composition that they have built for themselves, waiting for Steve and Nukeduck to get to these very powerful points. But for now, they haven't really given Elements an opening to get too many pickoffs after the initial foray onto Steve. He's come back thundering with an answer. Had the Rod of Ages, still stacking up that tier. 4-man in the mid lane, looking to try and push Elements further back so they can get a jump on this dragon. Nyph takes a shock blast to the back. Might be the cue to start.
And I really like this Annie pickup from ROCCAT, because with the distortion boots and those repetitive flash tippers, so much zone control coming out of Vander here. Putting Elements on the back foot, and Dexter, usually on Evelyn you want to flank, you want to find your way to the backside, just slow them down. But he's playing damage Evelyn, which kind of wants to come in second. Because if you go in first, you just immediately get blown up CC'd. 1 CC is enough to take Dexter down, and then all that damage is wasted. Elements only 1 tank right here on Jwaow.
Yeah, speaking
Froggen,
of 1 tank.
might have to Destiny out of here.
Oh, he's going quick, but in comes Steve, and he's gone. Magic disappearing act from Froggen. Saves his own life now, but that is not going to help him in the next few seconds. This summoner's burned.
No, Elements, because ROCCAT moved to the bot lane, they can now rotate to the mid and start sieging that middle tower. They grouped with Sivir, they have the TF ulti that revealed where ROCCAT was on the map. So they get information, but they're too afraid to go for the siege on the middle tower. They don't want to get womboed, so they move to the Dragon, which is a slightly wider area. They dodge the first Shock Blast, that is good. They secure the Dragon.
Number 2 for them, so they definitely buy themselves a little bit there. Didn't go for the unsafe objective, instead went for the safe option. Still down a little bit of gold versus ROCCAT, but here we go, it's still fairly even.
Now, usually at 20 minutes, in the last 6 games that were played, ROCCAT, they had a gold lead in 5 out of 6. Elements, they were down in most of the games. They only had 1 gold lead in their last 6 games, and that was what we're seeing here. On average, Elements was down about 1.5k, and ROCCAT, they were up on average 1.9k, so we see history repeating itself here. ROCCAT slightly ahead. 6 out of the last 7 games, they're now, have a gold lead, so it's what we were saying, they have the resurgence. They're getting better and better and better. They just need to learn how to close out these games, be consistent in their snowball. Yeah. Avoid an SK scenario where they kind of throw a bit at the end.
And this is what ROCCAT will absolutely need to do if they want to compete with these other teams right in the middle. We've talked about Gambit earlier. We talked about Unicorns after they picked up that win just before this one. And if ROCCAT want to separate themselves from the pack, they need to be able to do that to close effectively. Right now, Elements, however, back to them. They're pushing on the top side. Steve and the rest of the crew are looking for a possible counter engage if they go too far forward. Parallel convergence, stuns up. Jwaow, but he takes the Thresh Express. Back to the rest of Elements, and that will be a no-go for now for ROCCAT.
Dangerous games from ROCCAT, though. They overplayed their hand a little bit because remember, MrRallez, he was down in the bot lane. He might be gold efficient in his damage, but if it's not there, won't be doing too much damage. Froggen obviously has that global repositioning tool, but it becomes very hard to use as long as this middle tower is alive. Once the tier 1 in mid drops, you have the opportunity to open up the map and you can make a lot of better rotations, just pick-offs. Just opens up the map, and Elements really need to find a way to get that tower. They got the tier 1 on bot, they just group for the tier 1 on top. Another dangerous one, tier 1 in mid.
Now looking to siege tier 2 here. A lot of ROCCAT members. Elements only have Jwaow and Nyph, but they're looking for Dexter to go for the flank, but Nyph is already down. Collateral damage. Dexter turns right around, and down goes the tower. The Tibbers wombo combo.
Yeah, Froggen completely out of position in that bot lane. He's not even in range to Destiny on the top lane either. He's gonna push down bot. If you're looking to trade tier 2 towers, Steve recognizes this. This is why you see him basing on your minimap right there up on your screen. And Jayce, if you let him uncontested hit those towers, and Graves too can just dash in with the E. 2 easy towers for ROCCAT, and Elements dropping the ball.
Easy towers for them, taking advantage of the mistakes of Elements, pulling even further ahead in the gold game. This time they pretty much tripled their lead. Tabzz is going to try to make something of it in the mid, but doesn't have anyone else to back him up there. Elements don't seem to be effectively grouping here.
Yeah, if you're playing for picks, you need towers open so you can make that distance on the map. You want to make the map wide, spread it out, so members are individually farming left and right, so you can pick them off. Invisible Evelyn, not too many pink wards from ROCCAT. You have the Destiny to reposition.
Since the laning phase, they haven't really had to worry too much about Dexter. His pathing has been a little bit odd, I would say.
I don't think it's odd, he just got put on the back foot because whenever he gets an advantage, Elements as a team managed to nullify. He's involved in every single kill for Elements so far, 3-1-1. They went for one play where they reached too far into the cookie jar. They got their hand caught. ROCCAT turned that around, 3 kills for 1. That was a key moment of the early game right there. Right now, he's looking for a new opening. He's getting slowly more tanky though. Problem is he has to build both against heavy AD and heavy AP. Steve and Nukeduck dealing a whole lot of damage.
Yeah,
just look at Froggen HP bar.
One big shock blast, all it takes. You can't group up too much against that either, and you can't go solo because Steve might be able to just find you out. Meanwhile, some counter jungling coming in for Jankos, flanked by Nukeduck and Vander. Now they turn their attention towards the bottom side. Wave pushing in the mid. No one there from Elements to defend it. They're going to stack 5 members.
They have wave clear though.
They do have wave clear.
So ROCCAT recognizing that there's enough wave clear, they can't really commit to a Tibbers dive either. They have to back out, get out, and we're setting up for a relatively passive mid game. However, a lot of wards on the map for Elements, but mostly defensive. If you look at it, all those little red dots on the map earlier in their own jungle, couple them. The other person's blue, but they're not really spotting too many ROCCAT members with their wards.
And you said they need to be able to get these pickoffs, to get themselves in a position where they can take 5v4s, 5v3s, 4v3s, etc. They haven't opened those opportunities because they haven't been placing the wards down. It's been difficult for them to really do much, but grab a tower here and there while ROCCAT are back to base.
Yeah, mainly they haven't found an opportunity like that because they have no split push advantage. It's very easy if you play a pick comp, if you have one guy that can beat his direct adversary. Say Jwaow is so far ahead of Steve right now that you can push him out of the lane. That you can set up plays like that, chain reactions, you know, move Steve in, move him out, try and catch somebody off guard. But Elements is constantly on the back foot. Whenever somebody from ROCCAT shows up, they have to disengage, move away.
They do indeed. So now they try to make a play down bottom. There's still some duo lanes for the defense. It is RALLZ and Vander sitting there, and let's see if Froggen can maybe get the jump off him as he stands around the side. No, he's just going to back away. They're really just trading farm a little bit back and forth now. Elements still unable to find anything 25 minutes on. They've got the Dragon advantage, but that's about it.
It's so hard for ROCCAT to find an opening right now, but they're fine scaling. They have a Ryze and a Jayce for late game. They have no worries going to that late game. Perhaps the Graves falling a little bit behind. They took 5 towers already. The only tower left is that tier 2 tower in the bot lane, but it's so hard to reach because overextending on these lanes makes you prone for these pickoffs. So they're playing with the necessary respect. They're just waiting until Baron becomes an objective, or potentially force, you know, a group of Elements on this third dragon.
I think that might be the way they do go for it now. A lot of ROCCAT members moving around. However, MrRallez is a little bit further back as he goes to take the red buff. He's going to give Elements some time to get into position, but Jwaow not there. He's got teleport. Tabzz got to get there in a hurry.
Keep your eyes on Jwaow teleport and Froggen Destiny this fight. This is going to separate a victory or a loss for Elements because they need to find an opening. Strike before ROCCAT know what's coming, but it seems not going to be the case.
It's going to get taken out.
Dexter steals!
Stolen by Dexter as he takes the Lantern out. 3 dragons to 0 now for Elements.
And now Froggen's rotating down a bot lane. There's no more objectives here to take as ROCCAT already destroyed those towers. They may be heading into a Baron for a bait, and then we'll see Destiny used from Froggen, and it's his choice. Am I going to continue or ulti out? Froggen will probably use his Destiny very, very soon.
He's able to take that one tower, but the Baron is
there.
By ROCCAT. A lot of damage. Destiny thrown down for the global vision. Baron at half its health. Jankos tanking it all.
Okay, what's going to flash over?
Going in. Nyph goes forward too fast. He gets popped. In comes Tabzz. The bear is down. Jankos is going to get popped, however. 2 members of ROCCAT already taken down. Steve, he's taken out for a double kill now as Elements all of a sudden turn their attention to finishing off the Baron and get it.
What a fantastic play from Elements right here. Really beautiful sequence of events, and it all starts with that Dragon Steal. Let's watch that again, because this is where we got Froggen got the tier 2 tower, and watch in the top of your screen right now. Jwaow is going to flash over and get the perfect ulti. MrRallez dashes into his team. Look at that knockup. So many people get popped in the air. That's enough. Because this is why ROCCAT was avoiding this Baron, because you drop so low and you're so prone to counter-engage. See, I would almost call this a throw. Honestly, for me, ROCCAT would have just yielded. They said, okay, we lost the Baron, you know, it happens. Back off. Send somebody down to bot lane to deal with Froggen, but good pressure from Elements. Not only do they get the Dragon, they were thinking ahead of the game as well. Froggen immediately moved down to the bot lane, started pressuring that lane, that tier 2 tower, because he knew he had Destiny to join at the Baron. Good sequence of play on the map from Elements. And yeah, obviously ROCCAT gifting them that fight. Definitely good.
And the Baron too.
Good ulti by Jwaow. Concept is enough. Him coming out of the wall, out of nowhere, caught ROCCAT like with their pants down.
Yeah, they really didn't expect that at all, and as a result, Elements secure a Baron far earlier than they're used to doing. Usually is a long, long time before they go for it, but this time it worked out quite well, handily for them, and they have a massive lead, or a solid one at the very least.
Yeah, on average, those first Barons,
after the game time's over.
Yeah, ROCCAT Elements do it on their own at 38 minutes, but combined effort combined with ROCCAT goes a lot quicker. You know, if you have 10 people involved in that Baron, you know, it's easier to take that Colossus down.
So they've got the Baron, they've got 3 dragons to the none of ROCCAT, and every advantage early, it seems has been negated. 5 towers to 5. Elements, with this Baron, they've got some time on the clock to really start pushing forward, and they don't necessarily need catches. Now they've got some siege.
Yeah, now, most importantly, their weaknesses are being covered. Froggen, he was squishy, he has a Zonias, he can survive. And he has enough damage and mobility to stay out of harm's way. Look at Dexter, he went Warrior first, but he has the Banshees right now. So that's his magic, you know, in his checkbook. He's like, okay, damage first, check. Magic resistance second, check. Right now he wants to build armor, and then he has everything done. So he's a force to be reckoned with. Elements have the pressure, the gold lead.
MrRallez too. Hate spikes, not going to connect. No, he dashes away, and he was able to walk away after that. Elements still had the pressure on the top side with the wave, though. Now,
Nyph should just play back. This Thresh should play defensively and be more of a Lantern bot rather than to try and connect hooks. So if he plays on the front, he might need like a 2-man Tibbers. They really need that Lantern to be able to play forward and still escape.
I'm actually going to take the safe route for now. Let's RALLZ and crew clear this one up. with Froggen on the bottom side pushing the wave. You also had Jwaow and Dexter into the mid, but they just back away. They're playing the game of feed the minions to ROCCAT rather than try to push in the towers with this Baron.
Yeah, 1v1 split is definitely what they want to look for, and then they want to ward in between the lanes. Look at the wards that Elements have on their escape path. They definitely don't want to get flanked in that top lane. Froggen's fine. He's just looking for an opportunity to use Destiny. Just want to find somebody that overreaches their bounds. Worst case, they keep this up constantly until the next dragon. That's going to become a win condition for Elements. Once you're at 3 dragons, you get the 4th one and you immediately put pressure on the game.
Yeah, and 4 Elements as well. They are not always the team that secures the most dragons. You know, coming into today, they'd only secured about 17 to the 32 of their opponents. You know, that's roughly half the dragon, or rather 1/3 of the dragons in all the games. This time they got 3 to none. They're definitely playing above and beyond what we've seen from them so far in this split, and you have to wonder if it's all coming together finally at the end.
Yeah, well, I'm not quite sure if I could make that statement. Honestly, I feel ROCCAT's gifting a lot of things to Elements right now. Yes, Elements had a good early game, but they needed that cheesy gang from Dexter in the top lane. Well, not cheese, call it a beautiful strategic opening. Call it what you want. Dexter ganked level 2 with red buff. He preserved the early game, then he starts snowballing. Elements eventually overreached, but then ROCCAT made a big blunder. Yeah. Hang on, Steve.
Jwaow. Outside of the parallel convergence, the red buff still being fought over. Dexter's not done with it just yet.
This is something you see teams do a lot. When they lose an objective they were so sure they were gonna take, they do, like, I wouldn't call it tilt, but they want to make up for the loss. You know, it's called chasing a loss, and happens in poker a lot where people don't make rational decisions because they want to get to the state they were in previous. ROCCAT were sieging that 3rd dragon. They were so sure they were going to get it. Then Dexter walks in and steals it, and ROCCAT's like, okay, we need to make something happen. Look at the bottom, though. We can't go mid. We got the towers. We can't go top. So they say, okay, let's try and force something at Baron. And they didn't think ahead too much. We're clear in their foresight, and then Elements capitalized so well. In prime position to actually close out this game and escape the relegation danger.
Yep, keep themselves ahead in the books, and for ROCCAT, you know, they need this win, considering especially the Unicorns picked up theirs earlier today. ROCCAT, every single game counts, especially when you have as tough a schedule as they do going forward. 3 of the top tier teams, all 3 top tier teams, still 1 game remaining. The Elements look to start off this dragon this time.
Look at the shock blast and the offensive zone from ROCCAT. Are they gonna do to Elements what Elements did to them at the Baron?
It's gonna be a tense fight. Everyone's here. The dance commences.
Dance of Dragons.
Still waiting on the next one as Jankos gets caught in. Dashes away, phase dive. Dragon still being fired down though. ROCCAT may be able to secure this unless Dexter can get it. No! It's taken by Jankos. The fight starts off. Steve has to flash the hook. Everything resets, but the dragon is in ROCCAT's hands.
And the lanes were in a good position for Elements to stall this out. ROCCAT actually have an opening in the mid and the top lane here. They have to deal with bot lane though. This is Elements' way of forcing them back to base. Do not lose their tower in the mid lane. Crucial smite here coming out from Jankos. He gets that dragon. And we saw that hook from Nyph on Ekko. That's the one target you don't want to go on unless you can chain CC him. Because if you give him one opportunity to use his chrono break back to his ghost. Hang on, Steve is chasing Dexter here.
Looking for it. Jankos going in onto Dexter. Hate Spike's flank. Flashes the parallel convergence. Running away as fast as he can. The rest of them are there, and MrRallez collaterals him down.
I'm not sure why Dexter was still around and how he couldn't escape with his flash. Probably should have just flashed earlier. Stayed out of sight.
Yeah, it's hard to run away when you're wearing heels.
I wouldn't know, Pyra.
It's true facts. I'll just leave it at that. So 1 member down now for Elements. This gives ROCCAT with 15 seconds on this next dragon to set up some vision, but I don't think they'll be making as rash of a decision as they did last time.
No, but it buys them time. Dexter falling here is crucial in terms of the tempo. Just ROCCAT knows they're playing 4 against 5. They can move in anywhere. You know, they get those wards down. And Froggen, yeah, he has all those wards in the bot lane. They're no use. Destiny comes out. There's no Dexter this time though.
He's back up, but he's
watch Jwaow
away from Fountain. Jwaow sends out the Riptide, gets stunned up. They still got some AoE damage, just trying to buy some time for Dexter to arrive. Nyph is gonna get the hook off onto Nukeduck. Baron is helping him out, but it's taken down by ROCCAT, and Elements suddenly have to bail out. Or do they? Going back in, looking for Nukeduck. Hook is flashed. On the hunt, they were chasing him down, but didn't have enough. ROCCAT secured the Baron, but they had to get out.
ROCCAT secured the Baron, and most importantly, Vander managed to preserve his flash this fight. So we'll see aggressive push from ROCCAT coming out with the potential of a flash Tabzz. Destiny is still down. Suddenly this game got swung upside down again. They're quite a mirror of the earlier scenario. Now it was Elements losing the Dragon and ROCCAT picking up the Baron.
Not exactly in the same order, but pretty much turning itself right on around, and as a result, ROCCAT still behind in the gold game, but they close the gap just a little bit here. It's only about 4,000, a little bit less than that differential, 35 minutes in, and Elements look to be setting up what they hope is a brush bait. ROCCAT move into that area.
Aggression happen here. It's a good position, honestly. Dexter's up ahead too.
With the convergence. ROCCAT's still playing very, very safely here, though.
Now Tabzz, he picked up a defensive item for himself on the QSS, so he wanted to dodge that, you know, Tabzz, make sure so he can survive, so the lantern can potentially go to somebody else. Whereas MrRallez, as we said, you know, so efficient in his damage done per gold spend, because he doesn't build defensive items. He's building up towards probably likely to be a Phantom Dancer. And if he has the space to move in these fights, he can deal a lot of damage. If he has to be put on the back foot and run, probably not so much. If he can use his dash aggressively, reset it with more auto attacks, and he can actually still dish out good amounts of damage in these fights.
So despite the Baron, ROCCAT give up a tower by not defending it. Elements took the long game for that one and were able to take it down. ROCCAT have really yet to utilize this Baron very effectively. They're not pushing deep into Elements territory. Very conscious of potentially being caught out.
Yeah, definitely respecting the picks from Element, because all ROCCAT need is one good opening, one Tabzz, one parallel conversions hitting, one snare even from Steve, and then just piling on with the damage, just obliterating Elements. Element's trying to you know, prevent that before he gets set in motion. And the invisibility from Dexter is definitely a worrisome case, but finally ROCCAT push in.
Only 2 members here though, but it's being defended by just Jwaow. Shouldn't be able to hold the line for much longer. RALEZ has some serious damage he's putting on this tower. Riptide comes out, RALEZ avoids it. Dragon in 2 minutes now. Dodge the hook. Elements are there for the defense. They've ruined Prism. Jwaow, down goes the tower. Shock blast flying. It's Nyph again. Inhibitor. I don't think they can defend this one.
Watch Dexter flank. Watch at the bottom. This is what we want to follow. Is Dexter going to get that flank off? Yes or no?
Running out of time here. Inhibitor will just about
that hook's never going to connect.
Down. Dexter took way too long on that one.
Yeah, his team wasn't in position. Really, the flash from Jwaow is what would seal the deal at the Dragon fight, or the Baron fight rather, because you want Jwaow to flash it, draw the attention. Then Dexter wants to come in. We said this earlier. Secondary engage.
Looking for Jankos. Destiny is on. Can they catch him? Parallel convergence. Hook is going to catch Jankos. Will he be able to go in? He's going to chrono break, but still fall. Froggen had him with the card. Dexter moving in, Froggen as well. Tabzz goes
Messiah
down. It missed it. No, there we go.
Oh no, that was the reverse Messiah where he ultis in, and usually what people do as Froggen picks up his 600 kill in the LCS, usually what TFs do is they port in and then press Zonia, and Messiah did it first and was renowned to do it. And then people figured out we can do the reverse Messiah. When everybody is expecting you to do it, good supports like Vander, they can, you know, pixel perfect hit you as you land with the Tabzz. So to avoid that and get in too deep, you just press Zonias before you land, and you make ROCCAT look stupid because 4 people converse on the TF Destiny particle. Honestly, it didn't do all that much, but it just looks so funny.
But it's a pretty stylish way to follow up your 600 kill.
Yep. So style points.
Definitely give Froggen some style points for that one. Dragon's coming up in about 30 seconds. They're going to back really quickly, but ROCCAT might actually be to the party a little earlier. Let's see what Froggen can do as he pushes out the bottom side. Staggering the backs, that's what you need to do.
A good CDR for Froggen, which means Destiny will be up again, and this is what they need to do, Elements. They want to put pressure on the bot lane, have vision around the mid lane so they see what's coming, play with that information, and look for a flank. You know, Dexter, you don't want to get him storm the front. You want Jwaow to distract people. Jwow's flash is coming up. If they can stall the Dragon for that flash, that's what they need to do. But ROCCAT
won't give him
any time.
Dragon's going down very quickly. It is picked up. They are able to capitalize quickly, get themselves number 2, delay that aspect that is so crucial to Elements here.
Good decision making by ROCCAT here. Saying, okay, if we give you time to set up the place, set up the flanks, yeah, things are gonna get dirty. Nope, just take down the Dragon, get the hell out of there. Avoid that split push from Froggen, avoid that flash from Jwaow, avoid that flank from Dexter. 2 to 3, and Pyra, we said it, we're in for a long one.
Oh yeah. Oh, a very, very interesting back and forth too. I believe you said in Champion Select, excited to see what Elements can do with this comp, and what ROCCAT can do with theirs is a little bit different as well. It has definitely been a big game by all accounts, 39 minutes in.
I don't think either side played the compositions to their perfection, but there's a decent amount of respect coming out from ROCCAT. Some solid plays from Elements with the occasional, you know, overreach. So I think both teams are playing on the same level, respectively, you know, of League of Legends. But
vying for those middle spots in the playoffs.
Yeah, honestly, remember where we are in the standings. ROCCAT was tied for 5th coming in this week. 5 wins. Gambit, Unicorns of Love, and ROCCAT.
But of course, Elements, they might have been down in 8th, but that is only 1 game apart from those teams right in the middle. So everything counts. Everything can change the balance of the standings. Just 1 game is all it takes. And
yeah,
we're
definitely.
approaching 40 minutes for that.
For ROCCAT, if they drop this match, Elements ties them, I believe, in the standings.
I know, the tiebreaker. Suddenly
from being 5th place, they dropped down to like tied 6th almost because the Unicorns just hopped up 1 win. So everything can shift so much. As Shock said over in the opening of the shows, everything is in flux in our middle of the table. Fnatic, they don't care.
Fnatic don't have too much to worry about, that's definitely true, but we'll get to that one a little bit later in the day. 45 seconds will be this next Baron. We've had one go either way in very, very exciting fashion. Will it happen again? We'll have to find out.
Something Pepinero actually has done against Elements in one of the matches. Played a split push TF. Constant nuisance because you can't commit to a push, because if you don't make that 1 minion wave count that you're going to hit into the tower, then on the other side of the map, TF will just take a tower of your own. Dexter face check, but has Banshees.
Froggen threw down the Destiny. Looks like ROCCAT's still playing respect game.
It's too far, Elements. Not going to work now.
Yep. So in the end, nothing gets done. Still continuing to try and split push, split push the opponent. Froggen is on the mid, while Steve is on the bottom. And they dance around the Baron, which has just come back up for the rest of ROCCAT and Elements.
And the bottom split push right now is what's worrisome for Elements, because they just use their main engage tools, which are Destiny and On the Hunt. Their bottom lane is under pressure. They need to send Jwaow there to deal with it, but then the momentum is in ROCCAT's side, so crucial. I've said that before. Many crucial things this game, but very important, let's put it that way. Next minute or so from Elements while they wait for their cooldowns to come back into their favor, and that top lane to push out, hopefully. Somebody to deal with that bottom wave.
Jwaow went a little far forward, but he avoided the shock blast. Just a little bit of damage from Jankos. He's perfectly happy, though. There's a big tanky Nautilus. Elements now rushing towards this Baron. ROCCAT are all in the middle here. Elements are just going to start this one off. This will prop the instantaneous response. Teleport coming out from Steve. Can they stop this one? Shock blast hits Nyph. They bail out immediately. In comes Jankos. Chrono breaks back into Jwaow. Separated from his team. Forced to flash. Followed up on. Taken down and blown up. 1-0.
Miscommunication. ROCCAT sending Jankos, but he can obviously counter break backwards. Elements sending Jwaow, and he's stuck.
And now On the Hunt have to be burned again by Tabzz. It just came off cooldown. The Thresh Express getting Elements, the rest of them out of danger, but they can't afford to leave here.
Yeah, and ROCCAT getting the fruits of their labor right here. The split push initiated by Steve forced Elements to do this. They wanted Steve to teleport. Dexter,
looking for the flank.
Live with flash. Hook of
MrRallez. They won't go in on him though. Dexter goes in. He gets stunned up for just a second, or rooted up, I should say. Steve gets taken down by Tabzz. The crit, the double kill. Vander goes forward for the bear, but it won't be enough.
Triple kill.
Triple. Tabzz is going for more. Froggen's coming in. Gets the gold card. Takes him down. Steals away the quadra, but Elements don't care. They're on to pushing mid. What
looked like miscommunication turned around with, honestly, bravado from Tabzz coming out. Man mode's at the front of the fight, you know, has that QSS, has that spell shield, and just the AoE bouncing blades there from Tabzz, from that ricochet. And then as he gets stunned, he launches out his boomerang blade. It was so beautiful because even if you're stunned, it'll still come back to you. And Elements, finally Tabzz stepping up to the carry that he was renowned to be, and that was a fantastic fight.
Off the back of it, back to form. Nexus Tower #1 falling. Nexus Tower #2. The death timer's too long. Elements have done it. They topple ROCCAT and move up the standings.
And to win that fight 4 against 5, defying all odds right there. ROCCAT, they thought they had it. You know, they just took down the main tank, the main engage. They had Elements backed into a corner because they could see whenever Evelyn came in. But good format ulti, I believe, from Dexter right here. We can get a replay of that later, but phenomenal. Tabzz, he could have backed out, but he knew that there was only one way, and that was forward. That ricochet tagged everybody. Eventually, good guy Baron finished off Nukeduck, I believe, as well. Or somebody died there to the Baron. Double kill for Tabzz, triple kill for Tabzz. Froggen flashes insecure. And Elements, at least they recognize, let's go for the base, guys. Don't need this Baron, don't need more late game. Actually finish the game.
Well, we know the Dragon Dance is a dangerous one, but the Baron Dance is even more deadly, as ROCCAT found out there. Elements, though, a crucial absolutely huge win for them. They're now 2-0 over ROCCAT. That will certainly help on those tiebreakers.
Yeah, and this is something you really want to do as a bottom tier or bottom table team. Let's not call them bottom tier necessarily, but you want to beat your direct opponents. And yeah, Froggen finally with a smile on his face.
It's the happiest we've seen him look in a while.
Yeah, definitely. So, and it's what you want to do. You want to beat your direct opponents, because not only do you get a win, they get a loss, and you double the value. Because if you somehow manage to beat Fnatic or something, that's nice and all, but respectively in the standing, that doesn't do anything for you, because Fnatic, you're never going to catch them. HUK, Origin, you're never going to catch them. But ROCCAT, Elements, they just caught him. They just caught him.
Just do it. Big performance for them, really, and for ROCCAT, definitely not quite there. It seems they've got some work to look, cut out for them. Looking at, they've got HUK, Fnatic, and Origin still on the plate. I mean, this split just got a whole lot more interesting for them and their opponents right now.
Yeah, we talked about it in the opening of the show. ROCCAT, Unicorns of Love, and Gambit. And, maybe if you've been watching the entire day, this is the third time you heard it, but 5 wins each, but a different schedule remaining. And for ROCCAT, they had a rough schedule up ahead. Their opponents were something like 42 wins to 30 losses, so very strong schedule ahead. And Elements was one of the weaker teams in that strong schedule, so they fully expected to beat Elements and then maybe draw out a miracle win against one of these stronger teams. But dropping the ball here means a lot for ROCCAT.
Absolutely. Big, big win for Elements. And to hear more about that one, we're going to send it side